Good morning. Once again, we welcome you to the Uganda we want. Edrine Mukalazi is my name now. The Uganda we want is born out of the partnership between Church of Uganda, Family TV, and the Interreligious Council of Uganda. We look at issues from different spheres of life, health, education, welfare, like what we are going to look at. But of course, we want to congratulate all those who won the primaries, the NRM primaries that were held last week on Thursday. But also, amazingly, what was outstanding was voter bravery. Of course, everyone, those who won and those who were won, have come out to talk about voter bravery. And what could be the reason? Of course, you realize that very many voters, the bribe wasn't direct finance, but was in household materials, things to use in day-to-day life like soap, sugar, things like that. Now, this is a sign that probably the communities are still wanting when it gets to welfare, because the reason as to why someone has to exchange their vote for maybe a kilogram of sugar or maybe a bar of soap, or salt, or a jerry can, or a benzene. Because these are the things that are given out by politicians. And we're yet to see more coming up. We've seen people branding salt. So they get a salt pack, brand it with their photo and name, and then they donate. If that's the right word, they donate to the people. We've also seen others do the same with sugar and very many other household materials. Now, we want to see how the religious leaders can come out to support, especially the people's welfare, because people can only take informed decisions and right decisions when their welfare is uplifted. That is why the president is moving across the country, touring the success of PDM, and of course he promised to add more money into PDM, especially for ghetto kids, from 100 to 300 millions per parish, which is a good thing for especially the ghetto kids of Uganda, or the ghetto people in Uganda here. But that is one of the ways of uplifting their welfare, so that they are not used by self-seekers. Now, today we want to look at the role of religious leaders, especially in uplifting the welfare of the people. With me on my immediate left is Counsel Osapiri. Counsel, it's a pleasure having you this morning.
It's a pleasure coming back here to speak to our listeners and viewers on a very timely subject about welfare, because all of us are concerned about our welfare. And just yesterday I had people talking about the high cost of living. I think they were having an engagement with one of the leaders. So this discussion is very timely and very, very critical for us in such a season, especially as we approach the electoral season.
Thank you so much, Counsel. And then Reverend Canon Kaiso. It's a pleasure having you, Reverend.
Thank you very much. I first of all apologize. I had a small accident, so I need to keep on my mask. But warm greetings, my fellow Ugandans. Always a pleasure for me to be able to come, and we share some ideas that we hope can get us engaged around critical issues that need our attention.
Thank you so much, Reverend. Reverend, still, before I leave that corner, first of all, we start with, I would like you to take us through the mandate of IRCU, especially in uplifting the welfare of the people, before we now throw it to the religious leaders and see the dimensions. Let's first of all start with IRCU, the Interreligious Council of Uganda.
Yeah, as you might be aware, the Interreligious Council of Uganda is a platform for faith communities that have come together. They are now 7. So, as a platform, it helps the members in the areas of capacity building. We are aware that most faith institutions have different ways in which they started. Some, for instance, the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of Uganda, in their formation, the early formation stages, the missionaries, when they came here, they established schools, they established hospitals, they established skills training centers in terms of technical colleges like Kisubi, Iganga. So from the very beginning, these institutions in their DNA has been the concern about the welfare of the people. And so the Inter-Religious Council, by providing that platform, these members can actually help other members to get envisioned about interventions, social and political, socio-economic interventions as being part and parcel of the gospel and mission of the faith community. So one is really to act as an envisioning space. Then secondly, it is also mobilizing space. It mobilizes the religious leaders, because you see we go through different changes in society. We had COVID, we had Ebola, we have had some of these unsettling interferences, if you like, within our daily lives or the routine of our countries. So, responding to that, how do we respond? So it is a platform where faith communities are mobilized to reflect together on issues of shared concern. That there's a value in that, that because there are no ready-made answers in terms of faith communities' response. So it is this interaction as members meet, discuss, how do we deal with the issues of poverty? You remember IRCU was critical in transforming the response to HIV in this country. It was a product of these spaces for reflection and asking hard questions of ourselves as faith communities, saying, what value do we add here? What kind of intervention? Then certainly we have influence as faith communities. And so part of the platform of Inter-Religious Council is to be asking the question, how are we using that influence? Are we using it in positive advocacy for change in terms of policies, or are we using that influence to benefit ourselves or our institutions? So the part of that mandate is that. Then the other one is to promote peaceful coexistence. Many of you who are familiar with the history of this country will know that we had religious wars, and part of the dispersation of people, like in Imbarala, and Muslims had to run away for safety, and some Christians also had to do that. So that the peaceful coexistence has become actually one of our flagships as Inter-Religious Council, that we've been able to overcome the rivalry that we had among faith communities, that now we have come out and can prove to others. We're like a model to say, actually, diversity does not mean that it causes a liability. It is an opportunity. And so RRC, in terms of its mandate, models that. It models that you see we are struggling here now in their politics. Part of that is this narrow mentality, almost a non-progressive understanding of how to manage our diversity. But I think RRCU provides this solidly as an example, as a model of working together in diversity for the common good.
I just wanted to make an addition that the council has also utilized its position to build strategic partnerships. Of course, these partnerships always have focus areas. And since we are talking about welfare, we have developed key partnerships with different institutions in respect to, engaging in income generating activities, but also issues of enhancing livelihood and even environmental sustainability. And the Interreligious Council set up an agricultural demonstration farm in Buyukwe, which is a learning center, but also it is a center for incubation, especially in the key value chains. And in that farm, we are able to engage in forestry. We are also able to incubate, especially when you talk about poultry. And of course, we also have cows. And what we were doing initially was kind of an extension service where we give out some of these outputs out of the farm. We are able to distribute them to the communities. And for example, we wanted because we have exotic cows, so we wanted to promote crossbreeding, especially in the communities where we are involved. And as a result, some communities did benefit. And unfortunately, I don't have the numbers, but I know the IRCU reached out to farmers in Tororo, farmers in Butebo, farmers in Busoga, especially Bujiri, Mayuge, Luuka, Kamuli. We were able to, distribute cows so that the communities are able to crossbreed and get a higher yield. And then, if you've been able to crossbreed, then we would give out that cow that we gave you at first to another family, so that they are also able to crossbreed and increase their productivity of milk and so on. So as a result, we are able to impact on their income and also make sure that people do not only produce for the stomach, but they are able to produce something to give them money in their hands at the end of the day. So those are some of the initiatives that we are doing. Okay. But also we are using the farm as a training center for young people, but also women, because we have other skills that we are involved in, especially talk about bricklaying, talk about baking, these practical skills that people can use to generate income. And we've been able to win a number of partnerships, especially formerly you had NADS, which is now under the Ministry of Agriculture, Operation Wealth Creation, of course working with the Ministry of Agriculture itself, but also working with the State House, I must say, because it has funded most of the activities on the farm. And then key partnerships in agroforestry with NFA and other institutions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we now want to get to the real problem. Even with these beautiful interventions, we look at communities still seeming to be left out, especially in welfare uplifting. That is why we are seeing now people having to pay for a vote. And it's unfortunate that what you pay for, what they're paying you is not worthy your vote. So people have been listened to things like salt, things like sugar, things that people need in their day-to-day lives. Now, this is a question of whether their welfare is really improving in any way. So, where could the problem be, first of all, Counsel?
Now, I think first of all, we sometimes blame the people, but I also want to think that some of these challenges are perpetuated by politicians, because there's a breakdown in the delivery of services. And because there's a breakdown in the delivery of services, at the end of the day, they will come back and they will want to buy a vote. But if a politician, if a leader at the local government or a leader at parliament, whose role is actually legislation in parliament, and then a leader at the district local government, whose role is to follow up on commitments of the central government, especially in respect to funding activities within the district. So because of the breakdown in follow-up on service delivery, but also the omission in respect to the role of our leaders, you find that at the end of the day, they are, compelled to actually go and either bribe people so that they are able to get a vote, because they are not doing the right thing. But if our leaders were actually doing the right thing, they do not need to bribe anybody for them to be elected. And we've seen this happening even in the recent primaries for the NRM, where there's been massive bribery, where you're seeing, we are seeing images on social media where a minister, the caliber of a minister, is, distributing cash to people in a line, and the society is very quiet. We are not speaking about that, because those are things that the society should actually speak about. We should make noise about, like people made noise about the potholes in Kampala. Yeah, we need to actually make noise, and even publicly share photos of these politicians who are actually engaged in this kind of practice. But the more we keep quiet, it's like we are accommodating this kind of practice. So I also think it's a mindset issue again, because if the people are joined together with the same mindset that we are not going to sell our vote, and we are not going to associate with a politician who is here to give us some cash, during an electoral period, then we will be able to defeat such a vice in our society. So one, I think we need to do a lot of campaigns in respect to awareness on the dangers of selling your vote, but also secondly, awareness on the role of leaders. What is their role? What are they supposed to do? You can imagine in the villages, people have circles, but people, it would be a good channel to actually help people through their circles and so on and so forth, to empower them so that they are able to engage in economic activities, because then they can find cheap credit in their circles. But you will not see politicians supporting those circles. You will not see anything that is intended to improve the welfare of people. So as a result, people live in abject poverty, and the only thing is for them to open up their hands to anybody who is actually coming with a promise of giving them money. Yeah, so I think as religious institutions, we have a lot of work in driving mindset change, for people to say no to this bribery in electoral processes. But secondly, we also need to partner, especially with government departments like the IGG, to actually bring up evidence and make noise, so that actually these people, because we expected the Inspectorate of Government to actually come out and say, We've seen instances of voter bribery. This is unconstitutional. Or the Leadership Code Tribunal, because this is also an issue of leadership. We expected them to come and say this is a breach of our law. But we see all these structures are quiet. So it's like they are accomplices to this whole thing about bribery. Yeah, so I think we need to support government as the local communities so that they are able to bring these people who bribe to accountability. But also the leaders themselves should be able to actually lead by example, because you cannot live a life, or you cannot check them if they are the ones who are actually promoting this, and yet they're in charge of policy, they're in charge of monitoring corruption, they're in charge of all these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, John. Reverend, still talking about this, there is something you raised when you say that we blame the people sometimes for nothing. The leaders just hide into their weaknesses, especially when it gets to service delivery. But also, this is a time where we hear people say, what do you bring for us? We give you, you give us. So what do you have to say? In that, some people are punished, not because they are not, they do not attribute, they do not have the tributes of a good leader, but because they cannot offer something to the wananchi in order to be voted for. And before long, we shall still see it as surfacing in the next year's polls, because I don't know, people have deliberately taken this channel that for us, you're also going to eat, so first feed us, and then tetuja kubanja. And so, Reverend, what can religious leaders do about, especially this syndrome or this mindset that has come into people's heads, especially when it gets to comparing comparing service delivery and what they get immediately, and then see what will happen next?
Yeah, it is a sad development, I think, when elections become transactional. So I think the first task for the faith communities is to create awareness among the citizenry about the value. What are elections for? So we need to explore with the communities to be able to understand that. For instance, elections are there. They provide an opportunity for us to review, where over the last 5 years, where were we, where are we now, and where do we want to go. So it is an opportunity for really deep conversations. My expectation would have been that at sub-counties, we would be having open forums where people are engaged in a review process, where they're asking, in our sub-county 5 years ago, what was there? What were the issues for us? How were they addressed by the current leadership? And through that evaluation, which is a sober evaluation, it's not sentimental, it's just sober, to say, we had only 5 boreholes, we still have 5 boreholes. So what has changed? So those are perhaps roles that faith communities could actually play. To engage, help create spaces for engagement, for review. Then elections are also meant to help us clarify where we need to go. Because we are choosing leaders for the future. So we should be asking, given the current trends that we see, the current realities we're living with, what are the issues we need to tackle? Intelligence Council has provided a very clear framework. The country we want, the Uganda we want. caring country, a stable country, a thriving country, a united country, a country that fears and honors God. These are wonderful values, and we could use those to evaluate and set goals for the future, to see whether our current pattern of behavior is actually driving us to the Uganda we want or not. And so where are the problems? So period of elections must help us to re-engage at that deep level. Okay. If we want to fall in love deeply with our country, you know, that we begin to feel deeply about Uganda and say, look at other countries, look at these countries. How much progress have they made in health? How much progress have they made in education, infrastructure? Where are we in light of that? Okay. So, again, the role of faith communities, I think, could create spaces for the citizens to actually engage and to appreciate that the leaders we choose are critical to driving us to the Uganda we want. Because if we have wishy-washy leaders, or leaders who are about themselves, you know, because the elections are not about us, they're about the nation, about the future of the nation. You know, it's not about individuals, it's not about political parties, it is about the future of the country. And therefore, how then do we as faith communities help our communities to actually engage in shaping the Uganda we want by electing leaders that have proved themselves to have a heart for the people and a heart for the country. Okay. What is really sad is that when even people we know have actually been unfaithful in managing our resources, you know, there is no mechanism to say, friend, because of this you can't participate in this election. You know, that is what is sad. Because if you really want to improve, then you must create some constraints among the leadership to know that certain kinds of behavior will be acceptable and or not. And that the cost for mismanagement, for instance, would be that you will be barred from participating in as a candidate in the election. And that's what will curb this buying of voters. Because it is those kinds of people whose character is not, you know, people don't unhappy about. But so what they do is they want to use the channel of bribing to get to where they want. Okay. You know, and as I said, you know, elections are about the country, not about individuals, not about political parties. So we need to find ways in which we sensitize our population. And there are no institution is best placed to be able to do those sober conversations and engagements within our communities. That's not politics. It is actually empowering the citizens to love their country deeply and to be able to work more purposefully for the future of the country. Okay.
Thank you so much, Canon. Counsel John, still talking about welfare, we've seen the president. Of course, he has pushed very many initiatives, Operation Wealth Creation, then Emioga, then the latest is Parish Development Model. And he has spent some time moving to different areas of this country to supervise the implementation of PDM. We also saw an article in, I think, the New Vision, highlighting districts that have performed well in PDM and those that have not performed well and the percentages. But the president is pushing all this, but we still have people who have a wrong mindset that when they receive this money, it is a give back. It is a token of appreciation for voting the president. So how are religious leaders supporting, or how do they come in to support the president to push this agenda of parish development model and other initiatives aimed at uplifting the welfare of the people?
First of all, I think it would suffice to applaud the president himself to go down to the people, in spite of the president having structures, very clear structures at the district level. And for me, first of all, it's an issue of concern that probably the people who represent the president at the district level are probably occupied with many things and not doing what they're actually supposed to do, especially in respect to monitoring the implementation of these government programs. So it's a plus for the president himself to actually go to the ground and find out what is happening. But as you know, the country is actually very big. So imagine if the president is going to visit how many districts?
There are over 120 plus.
Not 20, 40
40
plus.
Actually, 140.
Yeah. So that has to be a lot of work for His Excellency. So I think the leaders need to wake up so that they are able to actually do what they are supposed to do, especially if you have a responsibility as a resident district commissioner. I think you have a lot of work in respect to following up on government programs and ensuring that these programs actually implemented. Of course, I have been following the discussion and what people have been reporting about PDM. You know, how money is given in half, how, even the people who are actually dashing out this money are not explaining to people that this money is actually supposed to be rotational. They give you now, but you pay it back so that it is given to another person. So that in a way, we are able to develop each other and the society with a contribution from government. Yeah, so before religious leaders come in, I think there is need for real awareness about PDM, about its purpose, to the people who are actually going to take this money. Because all the people I've interacted with, you will not find them saying, oh, I've been able to return the money. Some don't even know where they should actually return the money to. So it's still a problem. And I think there's need for a lot of awareness. Yeah, and I think by the president going down there, he's actually been doing that, awareness. So people are getting to know, oh, this money is not Casimo from the NRM for being here for the past many years. This money is actually for our development and for us to be able to develop each other. Yeah, so I think that is critical. Number two, in the designing of PDM, while religious and cultural leaders are put there as stakeholders, seemingly they are not so much engaged by the structures at the parish level. Yeah? When last month I went to my village, so I asked the people in our local church, were you able to get PDM? I talked to the pastors who were there, asked them, are you people able to guide people to go to pick this PDM money? They said, oh, we don't have information, we are not involved, in the process for application or even distributing money, things like that. So while the PDM design brings in cultural leaders and religious leaders, and the reason is known because these people are with the people in the communities, in the rural areas. These people are there. They can be easily found than getting the parish, the Muluka chief. You look for the Muluka chief and you'll not see him for probably days, or for him to come to your village, it's a blessing. The time I was in the village, the Muluka chief came. I didn't know that this is actually the Muluka chief until I was told this is the Muluka chief. But he came for a reason. He came because we called him and we wanted to do something for the community. So we called him to give us guidance. So you can imagine, if a lawyer calls, the Muluka chief will appear and come very fast because they know the caliber of someone who is actually inviting them. But can the local person in the village who has a problem summon the Muluka chief and the chief will appear? It would be very technical for them to actually come. Yeah, so I think religious leaders need to be involved more. The people within the structures of government at the sub-county and the parish need to be intentional about working with religious leaders in the parishes. You know, for example, they could actually have a review meeting in a month or in a quarter, sit with religious leaders and say, find out how many people in your local church, in your mosque, have been able to access PDM. Are they using the cash as they are supposed to use it? Are you able to see any change in the lives of the people? Yeah, because we want to see tangible. When the president was doing the survey, he wanted to see tangible things. But you'd find people lying. Someone is saying they now have 10 cows out of the 1 million they received. So you wonder, how did they multiply to have the 10 cows in probably less than 3 years? You know, they have 10 cows. So there's the need for a lot of education. There's need for being intentional about involving religious leaders. And there is need for ensuring that religious leaders are actually part of the monitoring structure for this PDM money. Okay. Yeah.
Why would you think that religious leaders should be involved, even when the hierarchy of government, they've recruited an endless list of leaders that are in charge of that, from the RDC to now so won't it be a duplication of roles if now religious leaders are also put at the forefront?
It is not a duplication of roles. Look at the population vis-a-vis the staff of government that you have in the local government. They are serving millions of people in that local government. But you'd actually find, if there are some extension workers, there are very few in a parish. How many people are in a parish vis-a-vis the population in the parish? Yeah, so I think it would be critical to involve them, because these people are with the people. They are with the wananchi in the local, in the rural areas on a daily. So it would be significant that they are actually involved, because they have some form of influence over their people. They have also goodwill over their people, and they can speak to them, and they can guide them and say, commit to the investment plan that you had, because people receive the PDM money, and then tomorrow he's marrying another wife. Yeah, because now he has got some money, so he needs to have a second wife or even a third wife. And they do not know the implications of having second wives or third wives, that it is very expensive to manage that kind of life. Yeah, so I think it's important that religious leaders are there to accompany people in, respect to the investments they've committed to, accountability, because they would better account to their religious leaders. People don't want to lie to the sheikh or to the reverend or to the priest. They don't want to lie. But to the government worker, they will say anything they want to say. But to their priest, they will always want to say the truth. So that's why you cannot ignore them. You need to actually be intentional and involve them. And for me, I don't think the involvement should just be in paper, in the policy document for PDM. No, be intentional. Engage the Interreligious Council. Engage the Uganda Joint Christian Council. Engage all these actors, so that at the end of the day, they are able to guide their communities into productivity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are going to take a short commercial break. When we return, we now want to see how the church can incorporate development in the sermon that is being preached on Sunday, and also to know whether the church is part of the beneficiaries of PDM. So we are coming back shortly. Stick with us.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Uganda we want, and today we are looking at welfare, because there is a very big question about people's welfare, especially when we go to the rural areas. I think this is where you best feel it. In town, people disguise a lot. There is a lot of pretense and what. So, sometimes we believe that in the urban centers, at least there is a lot of mindset change series, so people might be a little ahead. But what about in the other rural communities? Now, before the break, we were talking about PDM, but if we zero the PDM, we assume PDM wasn't here. Canon Kaiso, we assume PDM wasn't here, and probably the church has a role to wholesomely be there for their Christians. Now, how can the church, or how is the church incorporating the spiritual nourishment into, with development, to see that while these people grow spiritually, they also grow financially? And at the end of the day, the church grows better, because these are the very people who are going to contribute for the construction of the church, for the construction of this, or maybe for the purchase of the car for the parish priest.
Yeah, I think you have raised a fundamental issue of the role and mission of the church. What is its calling? We have, let me just not make it theological, be practical, right?
Yes.
As I said earlier, when the faith in terms of the missions came here, I think they modeled for us what you would call integral mission. their understanding of mission. That mission is integral. It is encompassing of all life. And that understanding meant that the missionaries were concerned about the social development, so they were involved in the, for instance, in helping communities to build latrines. You know, faith communities mobilize people for health. They mobilized people for immunization. They mobilized the communities for self-help, you know, reaching out to those that are in need. You know, there were frameworks of supporting people who are poorer than others. And so that understanding, so it starts really for the church or faith communities to be able to play the role you want them to play, of being actively involved in transforming communities. It must start by them understanding their calling and mission in society. For the Christians, you know, Jesus said, I have come that people may have life and have it in its fullness. John 10:10. That is a great summary of what we are called to. It means that we must support initiatives that help to improve the quality of life. But also we must resist initiatives or trends, practices, behaviors that deny people from enjoying the fullness of life. So it has got a double. So in so much as our expectation of faith communities will be disappointed if the current leaders don't understand their calling as being holistic. You know, you should be interested in the salvation of people. You should be interested in their welfare. We continue to see attempts for faith communities doing that, establishing health centers, and sadly though, sadly for some of us, is that while in the past the services provided by faith communities were within the reach of even the poor, but now look at our facilities, health facilities. Our hospitals are the most expensive. You see, a real contradiction of what we should be doing. So that when we're talking about therefore their role, first they need to clarify for themselves an envisioning process for the leadership to understand that issues of health, education are not outside their calling. Then secondly, they must really work for the welfare of the other. Love your neighbor as you love
yourself.
Good principle. Because we know that we wish ourselves the best. So the calling then faith communities in that sense would be, how do they wish the best for the communities? Sometimes the behavior of faith communities seems to suggest that actually they want the best for themselves. So you'll find that our leadership, for instance, are enjoying a high quality of life with undisturbing comfort. But really, how does that come? It comes through draining, finding all kinds of mechanisms of manipulating the people to raise the resources so that they can become more comfortable, that institutions become more comfortable. And I think that's where these conversations need to take place if we're going to be really serious in fulfilling our role. Then I think it is possible also for us to mobilize resources for development. Just look at how much money we raise. I go to a church and we are around 20 million shillings per Sunday, 17, 20. I think with good entrepreneurial skills, we should be able to say, if we raised all that money from different congregations on one Sunday, and we had a very clear framework for management of those resources, but also a framework, a good plan for us to spend and spend those resources for the welfare of the communities. I think we can, actually. We really can. So it is possible for us to mobilize resources for development through faith communities.
Okay.
But that would mean as I said earlier, a deep sense of love. The one that is demonstrated for us Christians in Christ. He loved the world so much and he gave. Our faith communities in love for the welfare of the community, that they are willing to let go, to give, not to receive, merely to receive.
Okay.
So I am talking in areas of challenge because they are already living models of faith communities living out their integral mission. But as far as we are concerned now, we are challenged. And I think it is important that the faith communities, IRCU, create avenues for deep conversation about how we are living out our calling in our times. Every generation has its own challenges. There was a generation, for instance, when there was slave trade. The faith communities were part and parcel of that enterprise. But some, because out of deep reflection, which I'm calling for, began to realize that this slavery is a contradiction of the gospel. Of a God who has come to die to everybody, who has equalized our value in his death. So a group of people then began to challenge that practice. And say, it's very economically lucrative, but it is contrary. So it's the same thing that even in our times, there are issues and challenges. There are worrying trends in our society today, which you need to be checking. But if we do not check them, if we don't have people who are wrestling through their scriptures to ask, is this behavior worth, can I be as a leader of a faith community? And I can have all the things I need. But for me to afford that, I'm actually exploiting the poor of the poorest. So I think those are questions. So we need to create those spaces for conversation.
Okay.
In order for us to come back on the right rails, to become effective instruments for mobilization and transformation of our communities towards total well-being.
Thank you so much, Canon. Yes, did you want to add on something?
I was listening to the Katikiro of Buganda, and he was challenging the religious leaders to translate their power from just demonstrating the power of the Holy Spirit at the pulpit, but translating into actual reality. That can we translate this anointing and this power that we are talking about to actually build hospitals? If you look at, I was interested in some of the, the churches around town. The monies, they are able to collect, but also what they are able to get from the bank. It's a lot of money, which if actually channeled for development, you would have demonstration farms owned by churches. Instead of a healing school, but you have a demonstration farm where people are able to see how to make money. And surprisingly, some of our leaders actually have these farms. But they will not, yes, they are actually personal farms. And but they will not take their people to actually go and visit and see for themselves. How do you grow good mangoes? How do you grow oranges? How do you, we are not doing this as a religious institution. So I think we need to move just away from the spiritual it's good to focus on spiritual aspects, but it is very good to translate these spiritual aspects into the physical realm. And I think that is the purpose of the gospel, because the Bible says he's given us everything that pertains to life and godliness. So life is important and godliness is important. So how do we translate the spiritual into the physical? If you're talking about a rich God, how do you support the people in your local church or in your local mosque to become like the rich God? You know? And I believe if we can help people to grow, even at the end of the day, we'll definitely have more collections. I must say that. At the end of the day, you'll have a more supportive congregation, because they are able to work, they are able to produce, they are able to sell, and then they are able to bring tithe to the church, or they are able to bring the first fruit in the church. But the church is part of that productivity. We have churches with assets. They have land, but they are not doing anything on the land. But we are able to collect money from our followers on Sunday. You go to a church, and if you have 100,000 in your pocket, you will not go back with it. If you try to want to go back with it, you will feel so condemned. You know, at the end of the day, you'll definitely have to give all that money, because the priest will say, "Oh, there is an activity for Mothers Union, or the archdeacon is going to visit this church." So the needs are so many, but we are not helping our people to be able to become financially able, so that they're actually able to support these church needs. So we have assets, but we are not utilizing the assets. You find a church has got 10 acres of land, but ask them, what are you actually doing on this land for productivity? You know? I was because in my local church, when I go back, I go to the church and I interact with people, and the church has got more than 10 acres of land. But when you look at these pastors, they are looking miserable. They don't, you look at them, they think someone will come from Kampala and give them some money. But with them, there is gold. There's 10 acres of land, which is actually besides them, and they are unable to mobilize the church so that this 10 acres of land is utilized for productivity, but also for supporting some of the activities of the church. So we have assets, and we are not utilizing these assets. We have human resource, we are not utilizing the human resource. We were telling people, we were in Kasese, and telling people, how many times do you invite the LC5 to your local church to come and tell and inform the local church about the opportunities at the district? How many times? How many times do you invite the cow to your local church? Does the cow know that you are actually a priest? Or does the district education officer know that you exist? So if you are a religious leader, you are a religious leader beyond that congregation, you must impact the community around you. People should know there's a local church here and that you exist. But if you're there in your small village, in your small village church, nobody knows you, not even the LC3 of the sub-county knows you. You are just concentrated there. So you're not utilizing the opportunities that are around you for growth, for development. So I think the churches need to now look, we need to look beyond and see the opportunities. They always tell us, the economists will tell you that what makes people rich is seeing an opportunity in a place where people do not see opportunities. So you look with a detailed eye and see, I think there is an opportunity there, you know, and then you'll be able to make the money and become a billionaire because of one idea that you got that others were not actually seeing. So the churches also, or rather the mosques also, need to look at those opportunities and move away from dependence, from waiting for a Sunday service or a Wednesday service, and then, you're able to collect some money, So, and then, as Canon said, supporting our people to replicate these scriptures so that they're able to live these scriptures, and they are able to guide their people in the right direction. Otherwise, if that is not the case, we will continue to depend on people who come to places of worship, because we are not independent for us. But also, maybe what I'd forgotten is, do you have a plan for development, even as a local church or a local mosque? Do you have such a plan? Do you implement that kind of plan anyway? You'll find so many institutions do not actually have those plans. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Counsel. Now, the other big question is, with all these developments that we talk about, a church might be having their development plan, and then we also look at the aspect of the ability of the leader, the clergy, to influence very many Christians when they come for the various church services. So why isn't the church not inclusive among the beneficiaries of PDM?
PDM
and maybe other government programs.
PDM, I think you talked about inclusion, because PDM is not the focus area is not institutions. The focus area for PDM is individuals. So we imagine that the individuals in the local church are able to benefit from PDM, and they are able to, get themselves into the program by, one, becoming interested, number two, learning about that specific program, and then pursuing the program. In any case, if you wanted money, then you're able to pursue. So I don't think they are not included. The church is included, but through indirectly individuals. Yes. Yes, Canon.
Yeah. I think what you're raising is key. You see, there may be a good idea. How to implement that idea in a way that it meets its objectives is always the challenge. So we all have the dreams, but how do we translate those dreams into reality? It's the challenge. Yeah? So similarly, the PDM, a very excellent idea. But I think it works with certain assumptions which actually get it defeated in realizing its set goals. See, the assumption that your issue is money, and if I give you the money, I should see you move from poverty to middle class income. Yes, money is important, but how are people prepared? Because we all have got some money, and you look back and ask, by the way, what did they get out of? What they get out of this? The money was there, but it really didn't help you progress in any way. So I think the rolling out of this program has been going on for almost 2 years now. It is the time for an evaluation to try and assess where the gaps are. Because you could use that money to build a local structure, enterprise structure for the community and the parish, because the very fact that they gave it the name parish is that they want the parish as a center be transformed, the people. And if you're going to do that, you need to work closely with the organized groups in that parish. Because part of sustainability is to ensure that the institutions that are in that locality get the vision, begin to invest it in other ways to make sure that that vision is realized. So I think for the faith communities, as John has said, there was the program focuses on individuals. And I think that is its folly, in a way. Because if we worked at building enabling infrastructure, for instance, to say, women, there are so many savings groups in the community already. Let's ask now, where are your bottlenecks here? How do we make you move from this level to another level? Young people, you are not doing anything. We are coming to sensitize you about, using that money in this parish to say, look at the opportunities. Go around the community. Let people walk around the community and ask, where are the opportunities here? People could identify opportunities, and then they are empowered more as groups. You could even improve the marketing of the resources within the community, so that the small farmers who are struggling and who actually mainly are being ripped off could get a bit more out of their own sweat. So it is. I think as people who are on the ground, we see those gaps. And we are hoping that His Excellency in his visits probably would have picked it up. Because sometimes you feel like it's being taken for a ride. A person says, in 2 years I've got 10 cows. Really? How? Yes, maybe they are miracles. Yeah, you believe in them. So really, let's that's what we were saying, the sober analysis. And that also presupposes that really the leaders in a parish have the heart for the parish. You see, we have people who are in positions, and any other things apart from their interest is any other business. The things that have got to do with the community is any other business. It's only the personal things that benefit them that is the real business where they devote their time, and knowledge. So it is it's still a transformation. That's where faith community could play a role. Deepening. I call it deepening the love for your community. Then if we act out of love, and a desire to see improved communities, improved lives, stable families, thriving children, women that are enjoying their rights also, if we don't have that deep down in our heart, then we really can't sustain what we want to do given the challenges around us.
Well, thank you so much, Canon. At this point, we are taking another short commercial break. When we return, you can as well be part of this conversation, especially when we return. You will send in your WhatsApp or text message to respond to what you think the church should do to help in the uplifting of the welfare of its people. Now, we are coming back shortly. Stick with us.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Well, come back from that commercial break. We've come to the last part of our show, and in this part, you can be part of this conversation, suggesting how you think the church can uplift. Because we realized that as we were starting, Counsel raised something that people are decrying the increasing cost of living. I mean, raising cost of living. So, meaning when the cost of living rises, then you should also, your survival should also rise. Now, you cannot afford to stay down when the cost of living, or else you will die. Now, that's not what we want to see. Therefore, what do you think should be done? And especially the church, because the church is at the heart of very many people. When hope is lost, we expect to find hope in church. And so, what do you think the church can do to support or to uplift the welfare of the people? Counsel, before the break, we were still talking about the different engagements, so we see churches coming up with projects. For example, we have churches that have model farms for coffee. We have churches that have come up with maybe piggery projects and very many other projects. And some other churches have come up with sustainable projects. I mean, sustainability projects specifically for the church. How can now the church use these projects at the church level for the sustainability of the church to inspire the congregation into also trying out or getting into the same ventures?
Now, first and foremost, agriculture is the way to go for countries in the sub-Saharan Africa, because we have a lot of potential, especially with respect to our very good climate, but also very good soil structures for our country. So it's the way to go. But as you are aware, the issue has been mindset, especially when it comes to agriculture. People have a negative mind because they think there is no money in agriculture, or the people who are involved in agriculture cannot get rich, so they probably need to do something else. So for me, it's a good step by churches to have demonstration farms like coffee. I heard about Ankole Diocese, what they're doing there.
North Ankole.
North Ankole Diocese, what is being done there. I think that's a very good development, that the church has a lot of money. Now they are thinking about having a bank, a financial institution where they can channel that money, and then they are able to either grow the money by borrowing, something like that. So it's a good approach that, one, they are changing the mindset of people, and they are telling people this is the way we should do it. This is the way we should actually go. This is the right direction. So you asked, how then can they utilize these farms or these gardens that they actually have, so that people are involved, and then people are able to take a lesson out of that. So again, it comes back to messaging. How are you, showing, what are you showing them, and what are you telling them, what are you communicating to them in respect to investments, but also in respect to farming. For example, churches could actually have groups. It could be a youth group. I was in Mbale and I visited St. Andrews, the diocese there, and I went behind the diocese. I met a young woman. They started a bakery, on the youth group at the church has got land, and the land was there redundant. They were not doing anything on the land. So this young lady said, no, we can actually lease this land from the youth group, and then we can work with the young people in the church so that we put up a bakery. And they've set up a very good bakery. So you can imagine those are youth groups doing such things, and they are now serving the whole of Mbale, the whole of that area. The demand is very high, and they are doing everything. But also, the church should train, because what I saw there for effectiveness, the young people there know what to do. They have the actual skills. They can do packing. They are packing GNATs. They are packing this maize. I don't know how you call that in English. Hardcones. They are packing bread. They are packing everything that is baked. Sombosa, everything, they're actually packing it. And I saw that they were skilled. They have knowledge, because it's important for people to do things with knowledge and understanding, so that you don't just go into piggery, but you don't know anything about piggery. You're going into goat rearing, you have no basic knowledge on goat rearing. You want to do cattle keeping, you have no basic knowledge. So churches can focus on training and growing skills for our young people, for women groups. I'm told men also have groups. They have men's fellowships. And you can use those groups to train and give skills. And it's not expensive to actually get these skills, because the women in Mothers Union have these skills. The women in the Women Christian Fellowships have these skills. Yeah, so we can actually identify people with these exact skills and then give them an opportunity to train the bigger groups. Yeah, so one, we need to see groups being formed with focus areas, either group for coffee growing, and then you learn from each other, and then you are accountable to each other, and then you use, if you're doing animal farming, you use probably the same veterinary services, and then you're able to draw lessons from each other. So for me, I think that is the way to go. Capacity. Number two, form yourselves into groups. And if you have a group, then you are now able to get money from PDM and say, oh, we can get that 1 million and add into our baking project. We can get that 1 million and add into our coffee so that we buy more seedlings, or, you know, or improve on our bananas. How do we translate our banana probably into wine? How do we translate our bananas into juice? Something like that for development and growth. So we need to think that way, so that the value, we are able to give value to what we are producing, because that's where also our people are earning less. You find someone, they are growing rice and they are selling the rice without packaging it to give it value addition. So I think that is also an area that churches should actually engage in, value addition. How do we add value? Because the church has capacity to buy the machines. The church has capacity to buy the packing bags. Years ago, a missionary came to my local church and they wanted to do fruit drying. And they asked the leaders to go and study about how do you dry fruits and then preserve those fruits, and they can be sold by people. So value addition is actually very key, an area that churches should interest themselves in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Counsel. Canon, still talking about the church, still from what, from the same question is what I bring to you. How can the church and the church leaders use these model projects and demonstration projects at the church as an inspiration or as a message to the Christians to also walk the same footstep in order to enhance their welfare?
Yes, thanks. Having models like farms, maybe to help young people, to inspire them, see what possibilities are there, is just a starting point. I was in charge of the slum community here in Kampala some years ago, and I realized that the women essentially didn't have much to do. They didn't have much. They were just waiting for their husbands at home in that slum. And we, as a church, we thought that we needed to start on them on the journey of being enterprising. So what did we do? We took them through a training, Start Your Own Business. It was a UN sort of program initiative. And we took the women through that. And through that program, the women were able to understand what is a business idea, how do you nurture a business idea, how do you actualize it, how do you sustain your business when you start it. The key elements along the journey of being an entrepreneur. That training, once women went through that training, then they began to say, in the morning if I go very early at the market, I buy some tomatoes, I take them near my house, I sell them from there, I'll add, because I bought it at a cheaper place in the wholesale, I can get some money every day. So many got involved in those kinds of initiatives. The question then was, now where do we get the capital? And so we mobilized the people to say, how much money do you need to start with? Interesting, it was small money. 20,000 for a lady to start on a tomato business. 20,000. So we mobilized resources internally and we began to empower these women with that kind of money. Then we realized that we needed to get them into the character of saving. So we printed passbooks. So when you, in the morning, you went to buy your tomatoes, you go take them home to sell, you come back in the evening with 1,000 shillings to save, and we deposit it on in your passbook. That empowered the women. In other words, I'm saying that the just exposure is not enough. There must be a commitment to journeying through these groups in those processes of capacity building that he was talking about, enough skills to be able to appreciate them, and supportive sources of capital, just as we did, and then the monitoring and the saving culture. Many of those women today were able to educate their children. Many of them, I'm always invited to attend graduation parties, just because of that small initiative that we do. So sometimes there is this approach of saying, now we have a farm, we have brought young people to the farm, they are exposed, and that's all. Really, that's a small intervention in a journey of building entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So I think the churches need to commit to work alongside, because that's why I believe in community-based programs, because the infrastructure for support is there, and the inspiration is there, and there is some sense of sustainability that you can build easily in a community-based programs.
Okay.
So the churches are the community, they have the infrastructure, they have the people. We have many professionals who are sitting in our congregation. Some of them are retired, but they were business executives. So identifying those professionals within our communities and really using them and as an investment in the things that we want to do is something that faith communities can actually do.
Thank you so much, Canon. Now, a few highlights here. Someone saying, church can never be part of the development agenda because we work from wherever we work from, and we only bring to church.
And that is the mentality that we actually want to, we actually talking about. That kind of mentality. Church can never be part of the development agenda. What a serious, decision. Yeah, but I think that the church can actually be part of the development agenda because of what we've been speaking here, exposing people to opportunities, supporting them in terms of personal development and skilling and so on. So it's possible.
Okay. Thank you so much for the show. I'm glad you're talking about development, especially with the church, because we think that the church is only there to spiritually grow the congregations. But it's a pleasure that the church can as well be a center of development for the congregants. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the show. Thank you so much. Now, since this is Church of Uganda, I wouldn't want to talk about the other side, where you are exploited, that even the little capital you came with after work might end up as offertory. Thank you so much.
Why should you go with your little capital to church? I think we need to teach people about purposeful giving.
Yes.
So that you come from home knowing exactly what you want to sow into. So that you're not just driven like sheep going for slaughter. When they say, okay, bring money for this, then you bring for this, then no. It should be purposed. You should pray about the gift that you're actually going to give to your local church, and you should know exactly what you're going to be able to sow. And do not sow what you have not planned to. Yeah, because they will not come and pull money out of your pocket. Yeah,
but I also have I like the mindset of praying about what you need to give, because I think we should give out of gratitude.
Yes.
Not out of guilt. And I think what this guy is responding to is guilt. That you've given, as you prayed, you brought your tithe, and then out of guilt they were going to say, now we need this money, now you people have been blessed too much. Then people begin to give out of guilt. So that I think is the challenge. And it is got to do really with the planning on the part of the faith community. Because I don't understand why we can't do annual budgets. So that the giving that is given is allocated to items in the budget of our ministry. If we have a gap in the budget, we can come back to the people and say, by the way, this was our budget for the year, we still have this gap. And then we take away this idea of wanting to, at every time, to collect, pass the basket. Of course, the other language that is also misleading for him was this sowing, language, that when you are coming to church, you are sowing. You see, that's the transactional, that kind of terminology brings in a transaction understanding of our relationship with God, that you are able to manipulate God because you are sowing. And so the pastor is going to say, I will pay attention to only those who sow more. Those ones deserve my pastoral care and support. For those of you who are sowing little, you work hard and get this level. So that kind of also language is crippling and misleading for the faith communities in terms of the Christians in understanding rightly that as a child of God, God has blessed you, give out of gratitude back to God. That's enough. This sewing business now brings in, those are where the self-interest of leaders coming, because they were going to be now to exploit more by saying, you know, people are giving so a car in the priest, you get what you want. You know? So that kind of transactional approach to faith, I think, is the distortion of the gospel.
Thank you so much, Canon. I think we cannot go beyond this point, but give us your closing remarks as we wind up this discussion.
Friends, our subject matter today was the religious leaders' role in uplifting the welfare of the people. In my heart, I believe that the core calling of the faith communities, that our God is come to provide, to give life in its fullness. And so we are instruments. We should shape ourselves into instruments that fulfill that God's purpose of nurturing life, of giving life, of enhancing life, and be active in those initiatives that seek to do that seek to nurture life, to support life. But equally, let us be active in those actions where we resist things that threaten life. That we should be able to stand up in responding to, for instance, the issues of climate change, the management of our resources, the corruption, you know, because all those now become the negative part of what God would want to see. They stand in the way of God's purpose for people to have fullness of life. So it has, our calling is a double-edged. It is the enabling and facilitating, but also it is the resisting. And I think we need to live in equal measure as far as we carry out our work as faith communities. Thank you very much.
Counsel, your closing remarks.
I want to challenge everyone listening that it's important that you're found with something in your hands, and that something is money. Because with money, you can do everything. The Bible says money is the defense and wisdom is the defense. Yeah, so with money, you can support yourself, you can support your family. And how are you going to get the money? You will get the money through investing. You'll get the money through being able to grow that money and putting it into a productive venture. And let us not ignore agriculture. If even the people who are in public service and the people who are in these offices do something at home, have a cow, have a goat, so that you're able to improve your life, your welfare, and then you will be able to also have something to actually give to your local church. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Counsel. Thank you so much, Canon Kaiso. And to your viewer, thank you so much. Of course, Sharon from Chiruhura, Juliet, Asadu, Kenneth, and very many others. Thank you so much for always being part of the Uganda we want. Now, I've worked with Andrew, Elizabeth, Patience, and Esther. We wish you a blessed afternoon.